Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Still Curious podcast. I'm Colleen Mizuki, and I have the honor and the pleasure of having Laetitia Ritter as a guest, and I'll say a little bit more about Laetitia in a moment. But I just want to say thank you up front. Thank you for listening and watching. This is a podcast that I started because in my line of work, I'm constantly thinking about curiosity, and I've been curious about the experience of curiosity for decades. And so I just decided, why not just talk to people about it and hear what their experiences are? What I hope is that it sparks curiosity or interest in viewers, listeners, readers of my articles to wonder about their own curiosity and wonder what that feels like to truly be curious, because very well that I'm super interested in interoception and the body's sort of intelligence and how it works with the brain and makes us even smarter. So there's a certain feeling to it, but not everybody's going to recognize it. And I just want to open up people's interest in this topic. I think, and actually this might be something we want to explore, Laetitia, is I think because we have access to so much information and people online from all over the world, it makes me really curious why we're not more curious. And it may be because we have access to information that almost satisfies our need to have information, so we become less curious. I don't know. I will sort of lay a foundation here, and I've been sort of thinking about genuine curiosity, which is more like being an explorer, where I might have a destination, but it's more the journey that matters, versus somebody who's navigating and they have a map and they have a destination and they're going to get there. And as an explorer, we're taking turns and moving around obstacles. And then I started thinking, and then I'm going to be quiet and turn it over to you. I was thinking that I sort of thought of, okay, if curiosity is wanting to know something or wanting to have information, then there's sort of two main motivations. One could be to sort of confirm what we already believe, so to confirm our bias or our beliefs, to convince other people of our opinion. We might want information to be right, to win an argument, or to just reduce our own uncertainty and discomfort about not knowing. The kind of curiosity that I'm interested in exploring, that I'm calling genuine, it's like the thrill of just almost bumping up against information that actually goes against what we know. And there's that moment of like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, right? That sort of excitement, opening up possibilities and new ideas, maybe making us more creative. So to me, those are sort of some differences. And I'm really interested in that. Always we're interested in any comments or questions you have. You can find this, you're either looking at it now on Substack or YouTube, but you can visit us on all of our other socials at Interoceptive Center. So Laetitia, I really think you're a very curious person. And that's why I'm honored to have you as a guest. I will tell the audience that Laetitia is French and she's in France right now, although my daughter and I had the pleasure of getting to spend almost 3 months with Laetitia a year ago. Is it a year ago? Starting November, October.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And it was an amazing experience. And Laetitia, you can speak if you want to about what brought you over here, if you want to. But I've known you since you were 9 or 10, and we've always had the most amazing conversations. So let's have another one. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I don't know if there's something that I opened up with that you would particularly like to respond to. I mean, you're a very, very good English speaker, but that was a lot of words. You might just have been thinking about your own curiosity since you knew we were going to be talking. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've been thinking about the theme curiosity, and I happened to make a mind map earlier today because I never really questioned the theme. I never really tried to know more about curiosity, even though it's here every day. And that's what I realized after mind mapping. And I also had the opportunity to see a friend earlier this week and see a different kind of curiosity, and it echoed with what you said, the navigator and the explorer. And this person is very goal oriented, is has a very specific dream in mind, and is complaining about their everyday life all the time. And I wondered, and I asked them, do you have things that make you happy every day? Do you listen to a song, or you know um just listen to a playlist and discover a new song and enjoy it while you're commuting in the metro in Paris, which you really hate. And no, they just think, okay, I'm going to hate this until I achieve my dream, and that's really not how I approach things. I understood that my dream or my dreams would not come tomorrow. But until then, I would, walk through all the open doors, or at least the safest ones and the most interesting ones. So we were really different like that about curiosity. I listened to your last podcast with Nicola, and it was really interesting. I and my ideas on my mind mapping were really different. I really came back to the root of what curiosity meant for me. I remember the first time feeling curiosity was when I was with my family, and I would always look around, observe other people, and sometimes, and most of the times, curiosity was a way for me to escape, or go into another world, because I was not sometimes enjoying where I was at. So it was an opportunity to learn about other people and see what they were doing, how they were acting, what their dynamics were. So it has been a distraction a lot. I found that it was always like a life impulse, you know. I've been learning about this in my recent school work, and we talk about it with Freud, and how there's death impulse and life impulse, and how curiosity to me is life impulse, and finding out about things and taking action, taking steps towards something, learning, being connected to others, learning about others, and connecting to the world, not staying by yourself in your head. So that were my first notes that I took this morning.
I really love that you did a mind map, and I appreciate that the idea of having this conversation sparked even more curiosity about curiosity, which is great. So you're the first person that's done a mind map, and I have a lot of questions already about what you've said. I guess my first one is this concept of a life impulse, a Freudian concept, not just Freudian, I think, but I like that. That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that before. I think for me, it makes sense. Do you know what that feels like for you when you're engaged in something that would fall into the category of life impulse, like either mentally or physically? What happens?
Mentally, I feel like it's getting busy up there and it's bubbling. I have ideas. I have lots of questions, and I'm stimulated. I want to do something. I want to take my phone or open my computer or open a book to find answers to my questions. And physically, it happens around the chest, I would say. It is the same feeling I have when I want to get up, and I'm sometimes frozen, or with stress, I get frozen and I can't really move. I dissociate a lot. And the feeling I have when I want to get up and walk and get out of this freeze state is the same one I have when I'm curious about something. I'm I engage my body. There's more perception of where my limbs are, and where what they're doing, how they're placed, and I think maybe my brain or my body or both are trying to calculate or understand how I can take this first step and how I can get up, physically get up to go and walk and get out of this freeze state. And curiosity feels exactly the same.
That's so fascinating, really fascinating for lots of reasons. So for you, it sounds like life impulse is a really accurate description
It
of
is.
both of those situations or contexts or circumstances. So what I think is so cool about that is we have what I call real estate, not just I call it that, but a lot of people who research the brain or who are interested in the brain will call brain regions real estate, right? So we have brain regions for a reason, and the brain is there to keep us alive. And so there are very specific brain regions that have been determined to be associated with different types of curiosity. So the brain's trying to keep us alive. So I'm going to take a huge leap and say that curiosity is actually, and I think many researchers would agree with this, it is something that we have the capability to have because it helps us survive.
Mm-hmm.
So for you instinctively can recognize that life force, life impulse that takes you out of freeze and into movement because that's life you're choosing, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
movement and it's forward movement that you're choosing. And that's fascinating that curiosity feels exactly the same way.
It is. Mm-hmm.
So, do you have a sense of what sparks or nurtures your curiosity?
A lot of things do, which is a good thing. I don't really know how to answer that other than to list things. I'm interested in so many things, but mostly what feels good to me when I think about it or when I look at it. I try to hold on to that. For example, taking a walk outside in nature, and I will look at trees and I will want to go further and know what kind of tree it is, what kind of flower it is, and I will want to put it in a journal and draw it, and maybe learn about drawing, learn how to grow certain types of trees, or I don't know. I think I am an explorer most of the time. Everything for me is an opportunity to learn and to connect with either life itself or other people, because I don't always feel connected to, time passing, even though it is passing and I'm living. So curiosity is like a bridge to me. It's
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
I don't know if that makes a lot of
It-
sense.
Well, as you were describing the sort of the experience of taking a walk in nature, seeing a tree, and then becoming really curious about what type of tree it was and looking at the leaves and then thinking, I wonder, what the conditions, whatever that might be. And it's just, and that is truly that explorer mode. Your goal initially was to take a walk.
Hmm.
And that walk became an exploration of all sorts of different things. As I was listening to you, what I tend to do when I'm talking to people, even when I'm coaching somebody or training, is I listen to what they're saying and I imagine myself doing what they're describing doing. It's sort of my way of empathizing and entering their world. Of course, I can only experience what would happen for me, but I wonder if what happens for you is similar to what happens for me, because what you just described is exactly what happens to me in my curious moments, is I just have almost like this insatiable appetite to just more, 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 no, 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 just because it's just so exciting and it really
Hmm.
is energy giving.
Yes, it is. Well, that's those are the words that I wrote down this morning. They were thirst,
Ah,
for knowledge, and I don't know if the expression is right in English, but desire to know. So those are very strong words, and they almost feel like, I think you said a drive, but yeah, like a life necessity or a vital need.
mm,
And I have experienced a moment in my life where I did not want to be curious anymore. And I chose to withdraw myself from what connected me to others and reality. And when I decided to get better, I understood that what would help me get better was to get curious about things again. And it's something that I had
Oh,
lost and I didn't want to do anymore. And that made me reflect on how I was when I was a kid. And I had a lot of imagination and I was always going on adventures, talking to myself a lot or talking out loud and building worlds and people around me. Maybe I was a little lonely, or maybe the people around me were maybe not enough for me. I needed more. And as French kids, I don't know if it's exactly the same in the US, but I realized that we're often told that we shouldn't ask too many questions, and kids and adults don't have the same place. They're not equal. There's the kid table and the adult table, and when adults are talking, kids should not be talking, and we will not. We will ignore them if they're asking a question when two adults are talking, or if they, I don't know what the word is in English, but couper la parole we say, which is
yeah.
cut the speech. And even the expression is very meaningful. And so for kids, I've had the chance to babysit American kids and French kids, and I was always amazed by how American parents let kids be curious and also encourage them to be curious and they would
Reward them, right? Yeah.
mhm, give them
Yeah.
compliments and say, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's so interesting. Oh, what do you think?" Even in the way they interact with them is
Mhm.
so different. With French kids, it's very different. It's, "Oh, you have so many questions. Maybe you should keep that for yourself," and kind of shutting them down. So I think curiosity is not encouraged very well here. Not
That's
always.
wow. Well, I could talk for a long time about what I also sort of the differences that I've noticed between the two cultures. And I don't know if things are changing in France, but that's super consistent with when I started interacting with a lot of French mothers in the United States because our kids were in preschool together. That's pretty much what they described. And it would make sense if that is the way a child is the response a child has to their natural innate curiosity, that they would eventually turn into explorers that had very specific goals and would be seeking information sort of so they could win an argument, so that they could be right. And
Hmm.
and the French are great debaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I went to school in France at the university in Grenoble, and I was always really surprised when I would go to a party and people would say, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'd say, "I'm from the United States." And they'd say, "Oh." And then they just they wouldn't ask any questions at all. I thought,
Yeah.
if I meet somebody from another country, I wanna know everything about what
Yeah.
as much as I can find out.
Hmm.
Almost nobody asked any questions
Hmm.
ever.
That's
It
so
was
interesting.
so fascinating. And that's interesting. So, okay, the description when you were young and you had quite a fantasy world in this most beautiful childlike way, which what we learn, at least in psychology in the United States, is that's what the children should do. That's their work, is fantasy play. And
Hmm.
the brain is developing a lot when they're doing that. So even though your parents were, cutting you off, or adults were couper la parole, were cutting off. I don't even know if the what the right expression is in English. There's one, but it's not coming to my mind. Somehow it didn't die for you. You didn't become a navigator. So
Yeah.
how?
I think it was a way for me to still have a place somewhere, which was in my world, where that I was able to build for myself, and I could add a brick to my walls by learning about something, discovering something new, asking questions. All of that were almost like a virtual world that you can, create on those online video games. And you can add flowers, add houses, add everything. And curiosity was always a way to get something new and to nourish myself and have another space for myself to be safe. And I was sure that I would be happy there and it would be exciting and everything would be possible.
Oh,
So I think I kept it because it was my safe space.
so beautiful. Everything can be possible, and it is a safe space, and I think for just about everybody, but tell me if this has been your experience. Curiosity, if somebody has natural curiosity, what is sure to I'm not even finding my words in English now, even though I don't have the excuse of speaking French, they're just not coming. Um, they're just not
Let's
coming.
just switch to French and
Maybe it'll be easier, maybe not. I'm trying to use a word that's not a weird word, that what really cuts curiosity off at the knees, to use a colloquial phrase, is when we don't feel safe. But you
Mhm.
used curiosity to stay safe.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
Mhm.
And you are now going into the field of psychology that requires a high level of empathic curiosity, right? So,
Mhm.
as a therapist or as a coach, we're at our best when we're truly taking a curious stance about our client.
Mhm.
So, for you, that'll come very naturally, I think.
I think I was using curiosity for myself, but then the other person, in a general way of speaking, was not always safe for me, and I would be scared, but then I would withdraw myself from interactions. Even though I was a social kid, I would not let them in my special world. And when I discovered later, when I was a teenager, that I actually wasn't able to connect with people very well because I was in my world a lot,
Mhm.
that's when curiosity became a new tool for me to connect with others, and learning about them was this breach that I was talking about. And I became genuinely curious about them, and sometimes it was to feed parts of myself, to understand things. And sometimes it was just because I didn't know what was in front of me and I wanted to learn about it and to discover. So, first it was for a safe space, and then it was to connect with others. I became really good at being curious with, you know, about people. And that's why I love meeting new people and asking so many questions when I'm talking to a person, and that's really interesting, and I think it will help me later maybe.
Oh, I'm sure it will, Laetitia. And I'm wondering, back to sort of the cultural differences between France and the US, do you find that when you are truly curious, when you're curious about somebody and you're asking them questions because you're curious and you want to sort of know what makes them happy, what makes them tick, what are their experiences, what is their reality? Do you find in France that that opens people up, or does it shut them down, or does one happen more than the other?
I think people sometimes get shy or pudique, they're not, they're scared of asking questions because they think it's prying, but
Mm.
sometimes they think it's disrespectful or not very polite to ask questions, but it just maintains a distance between people. Yeah, it doesn't allow people to really share their life and their feelings. And I think it's changing
Mm,
because of, I think because media, movies, TV series, and TV shows, and social media is helping to change this. People realize that it's okay to talk about, personal things a little more, and that it's actually not that scary. But mostly, people tend to not ask too many questions. And when they do, either the response is, well, that's none of your business, and
mm.
or people will be happy and will feel flattered maybe that there's an interest in them. I don't know if that answers your questions very well, but
No, it answers exactly. That's what I was curious about because I when I was in France, it was a long time ago when I was living there, but I knew that I had to really try to contain my curiosity about people because people were like, "Why are you asking me all these questions?" And it
Hmm.
wasn't as if I was firing rapid questions, but I think they weren't accustomed to somebody genuinely. They became suspicious, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, became suspicious about why do you need to know that? Whereas I really think that based on one of the things you said toward the end of your response is I think people generally want to be seen and valued. And I think one of the best ways we can show them that we value them is to be curious about their ideas
Hmm.
and their experiences. So I'm biased. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't know if that's me as just a human being or how much of that is being an American. I know a lot of Americans who aren't very curious about other people.
I'm not sure. I know that when I came to visit you, I got the chance to interact with people my age or maybe just a bit older, and it was very new for me to have people ask me so many questions about my life, myself, and people like to talk about themselves most of the time.
Yeah.
So at first, I really liked it, and I thought, oh, whoa, this person is really thinks I'm someone interesting, and this is not what we feel in France with our friends around us usually. It's we gather around a common something that we build or that we're interested in, but we will not ask that many questions about how we feel or how we see things. So I was discovering something completely new, and it was very interesting for me to see that some that people like that exist, people that really care about finding information and learning about the other person. And I was not that young. I was, I think, well, yes, but
I think
I think
18,
maybe
19, right?
yes. And I
Yeah.
had never really encountered anyone that really wanted to know things. I don't know if that's because these people were amazing people or these people were Americans or a bit of both,
Mhm.
but it was different for sure.
So this is really a cool turn because I don't get to have this type of a conversation with many people, which is around cultural differences. And what you just said reminds me of the effect that my genuine curiosity had on women. Again, these were mothers of children my daughter's age, and I was seeking out other cultures as well because I wanted Maya exposed to French and Japanese, my daughter. In almost every case, the French who became a friend or the Japanese friend who, when they went back to their respective countries, they were changed. And they said that to me. They went back and
Yes.
then they needed to fit back into the French and the Japanese culture, but they were no longer the same person.
Yes, that's
And
very true.
it was those interactions
Mhm.
that changed them, they said.
Yeah.
So I guess that supports my belief that humans do want to be known. But if you grow up not having people try to know you, then it will be odd for a while. So it's going to be interesting because I think when you were every visit you've had to the States, but particularly when you were with us for 3 months, I feel like you probably went back different as well, just by having been open to American culture. It will be really interesting to see what kind of a therapist you're going to end up being. If you're going to be more of a French therapist or an American therapist.
I guess a bit of both, a
A bit of
mix.
both.
I don't know, but I would love to come back to the States very soon and experience more because I love France, and there's so many good sides about France and French people, but there's also so many good sides about American people that I'm very curious about.
Mm.
And I don't want to just let this be on the side and I want to experience it and I want to find out about it. And even if that means I fit a little less in France, that doesn't matter because it's so interesting.
I love that. I really appreciate that desire to expand. I think that I think that's another thing about human beings. I think we are designed, created, wired to grow and expand and evolve. And that's a beautiful way. Well, you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, always welcome. We would love to have you back. And you may not want to be, you may want to go try to experience another part of the country or other people, but you're always welcome. Anything that we didn't touch on that you think is important to say about curiosity?
There are so many things to say. And 30 minutes is a very short time, of course. I'm just really excited to see what comes next, and being in this podcast, part of this podcast, is a way for me to be curious about life. I thank you because you have been the source of many opportunities for me to be curious and to nourish that part of me. So I'm just excited to see what's next.
Yes, well, I'd love to have you back on, or we can collaborate on maybe an article, maybe it's a cultural piece or something like that. Would be really interesting. And
Mhm.
and when I see you, because I will find a way to get over there this summer, we can maybe do a in-person podcast about that. I don't know. Lots of
Yeah, that
possibilities.
would be nice. Lots of possibilities, and that's what's great.
I know,
That's
it's so
what's
exciting.
exciting.
Thank you again so
Thank you.
much. It's great to see you. I look forward to seeing you in person,
Me
maybe in a
too.
month and a half or so. And
Mhm.
okay, we'll talk soon. Thanks, Leticia.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.